Poor gut health is quietly killing Americans over 60. Not heart disease, not diabetes, not cancer. The real villain is something most doctors completely overlook, and it's been sitting in your gut this entire time, triggering a slow-burning fire that destroys your joints, your memory, your heart, and your energy all at once. And the worst part? Most seniors are accidentally feeding this fire every single day, with foods they've been told are healthy. Stay with me, because the #1 gut destroyer I'll reveal today is consumed by over 80% of Americans at breakfast, and almost nobody connects it to the chronic pain, brain fog, and exhaustion that follows. That connection could change everything for you. I'm Dr. Michael Carter, a physician specialized in senior health, with over 15 years of dedicated clinical experience. I've worked with thousands of men and women over 60 who came to me frustrated, exhausted, and dismissed by other doctors who told them their symptoms were just part of getting older. What I've discovered, patient after patient, year after year, is that the gut is the hidden command center of your entire body. When it breaks down, everything breaks down. What I'm about to share today goes against the grain of conventional medicine, but I've seen it work with my own eyes, and I refuse to stay silent any longer. If this information seems valuable to you in these first few seconds, hit that like button right now. Let's get into it. Here's what's happening inside your body right now. Your gut is home to roughly 39 trillion microorganisms. Scientists call this the gut microbiome. When it's balanced, those microorganisms produce anti-inflammatory compounds, protect your intestinal lining, regulate your immune system, and even communicate directly with your brain. But after 60, something critical happens. Your gut diversity drops dramatically. Research published in the journal Frontiers in Aging found that adults over 65 have up to 40% fewer beneficial bacterial strains compared to younger adults. 40%. That's not a small shift. That's a collapse. And when those beneficial bacteria disappear, the harmful ones take over. They produce something called lipopolysaccharides, or LPS, which are essentially toxins that leak through a weakened intestinal wall directly into your bloodstream. Scientists call this leaky gut. And when those toxins hit your bloodstream, your immune system panics. It launches an attack. And that attack never stops. That, right there, is chronic inflammation. That slow, invisible fire that most doctors can't find on a standard blood test, but that is silently destroying your joints, your arteries, your brain cells, and your energy reserves, every single hour of every single day. The medical community has known about this for decades. Yet somehow, the conversation never reaches the patient sitting in the exam room. And here's what terrifies me most. The standard American diet, which most seniors were raised on and still follow today, is almost perfectly designed to destroy the gut and fuel that fire. Today, I'm going to give you the 7 hidden gut villains that are doing exactly that, ranked from damaging to catastrophic. And then I'll show you exactly what to replace them with. Before we continue, I'm curious, how old are you? In your 60s, 70s, maybe beyond? If you've been dealing with chronic pain, fatigue, or digestive discomfort for more than a year, type gut in the comments below. Let's see how many of us are in this together. Number 7. Artificial sweeteners. This one shocks almost everyone. You switched from sugar to diet drinks and sugar-free products, thinking you were doing the right thing. I understand that decision. It seemed logical. But here's what the research now tells us. A landmark 2022 study published in the journal Cell found that common artificial sweeteners, including saccharin, sucralose, and aspartame, directly alter the composition of the gut microbiome in a damaging way. After just 2 weeks of consumption, participants showed measurable changes in gut bacteria associated with glucose intolerance and increased inflammation markers. What happens is this. These sweeteners are not broken down by the body the way natural sugars are. They pass into the colon intact, where they essentially poison beneficial bacterial colonies. Your gut bacteria have not evolved to handle synthetic compounds, and when those compounds arrive in large quantities, the good bacteria die off, and the opportunistic, pro-inflammatory strains flourish. The cruelest irony is that artificial sweeteners were introduced as a healthy alternative, especially for people managing blood sugar. But a 2023 analysis in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that long-term artificial sweetener consumption was associated with a 27% higher risk of inflammatory bowel conditions. 27%. Not from real sugar, from the supposed healthy replacement. Pro tip here: if you're craving sweetness, raw honey in very small amounts is metabolized differently and actually contains prebiotic compounds that feed beneficial gut bacteria. A quarter teaspoon in your tea is entirely different from 3 packets of sweetener in your morning coffee. This brings us to number 6. Number 6. Refined vegetable oils. Canola oil, corn oil, soybean oil, sunflower oil. These are in almost every processed food on the shelf and most restaurant kitchens. They've been marketed as heart-healthy for decades, but the science tells a very different story when it comes to your gut. Here's the mechanism. These oils are extremely high in omega-6 fatty acids. Your body needs some omega-6, but the key is the ratio between omega-6 and omega-3. In a healthy diet, that ratio should be roughly 4-to-1. In the average American diet today, it's closer to 20-to-1, sometimes even higher. That imbalance has been shown in research published in the journal Nutrients to directly suppress the production of beneficial short-chain fatty acids in the gut, which are the compounds your gut lining uses to repair and maintain itself. When the gut lining breaks down, LPS toxins enter the bloodstream. When LPS enters the bloodstream, the inflammatory cascade begins, and once that fire starts, it doesn't stop at the gut. It travels. Joints, arteries, brain, kidneys. Research from the Journal of Applied Physiology found that diets chronically high in omega-6 oils were associated with a 34% elevation in systemic inflammatory markers in adults over 60. The replacement is simple. Extra virgin olive oil is your friend. Avocado oil for high-heat cooking. Real butter from grass-fed cows. These fats support the gut lining rather than eroding it. Now let's move to something even more powerful. Number 5. Processed gluten in refined white bread and pasta. Let me be precise here because this is not simply about gluten sensitivity. This is about what refining does to wheat and what modern wheat processing does to your gut, regardless of whether you have celiac disease or a diagnosed sensitivity. Modern commercial bread and pasta are made from highly refined wheat flour that has been stripped of fiber and processed with additives including dough conditioners, emulsifiers, and preservatives. Emulsifiers in particular have drawn serious scientific attention. A 2015 study published in the journal Nature found that 2 of the most commonly used food emulsifiers, polysorbate 80 and carboxymethylcellulose, both widely found in commercial breads and processed foods, directly disrupted the gut microbiome in animal models, increasing gut permeability and triggering low-grade colonic inflammation that persisted long after exposure ended. In humans, the issue compounds with age. After 60, your production of digestive enzymes that break down gluten proteins already declines by approximately 30%, according to research in the Journal of Clinical Nutrition. That means undigested gluten fragments reach the gut lining at higher concentrations, where they can trigger an immune response, even in people who have eaten bread their entire lives without apparent issue. I remember Patricia, a 74-year-old retired schoolteacher from Atlanta. She came to my office with what she described as a laundry list of problems. Her knees ached constantly. She was exhausted by 2 in the afternoon every day. Her digestion was unpredictable. She'd had tests run everywhere. Nothing specific came back. When I reviewed her diet, I noticed she was eating commercial white bread at every single meal. Toast in the morning, a sandwich at lunch, a dinner roll at night. She'd been doing this her entire life without issue, until her early 70s when the symptoms began piling up. I asked her to do one thing: eliminate commercial white bread and pasta completely for 30 days. Nothing else changed. No special diet, no supplements yet. She came back to my office 5 weeks later with tears in her eyes. She told me, "Doctor, my knees feel better than they have in 10 years. I have energy again in the afternoons. I feel like myself." That wasn't a miracle. That was her body finally being given a chance to reduce the inflammation load it had been fighting for years. And you can experience exactly the same thing. If you're finding this helpful so far, please hit like and subscribe so you won't miss the practical health information we share every single week. Now, let's move to number 4. Number 4. Excess dietary sugar, especially fructose from fruit juice and sweetened beverages. We've all heard that sugar is bad, but what most people don't understand is the specific way excess sugar, and fructose in particular, destroys the gut microbiome and ignites chronic inflammation. Here's the mechanism. When you consume excess sugar, especially fructose in the amounts found in commercial fruit juices and sweetened drinks, it feeds a specific category of gut bacteria that produce ethanol as a byproduct of fermentation. Yes, ethanol, alcohol, produced inside your own gut. This process, called gut fermentation, increases intestinal permeability, meaning it makes the gut wall more porous, allowing more LPS toxins to leak into the bloodstream. A 2021 study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association found that adults who consumed more than one sweetened beverage per day had inflammatory marker levels comparable to those seen in early-stage metabolic disease. That's one drink per day. And here's where it gets really important for seniors specifically. After 60, your liver's ability to process fructose decreases significantly. Fructose that isn't processed by the liver travels directly to the gut, where it feeds harmful bacteria at an accelerated rate. Research from Frontiers in Aging found that high fructose consumption in adults over 65 was associated with a 41% higher concentration of gut-derived inflammatory compounds compared to younger adults consuming the same amount. Orange juice, apple juice, cranberry juice. These are marketed as healthy. But a single glass of commercial orange juice contains as much fructose as eating 4 whole oranges, without any of the fiber that would slow absorption and protect the gut wall. Whole fruit with its fiber intact is entirely different from fruit juice. This distinction matters enormously. Pro tip: if you want something sweet to drink, filtered water with a squeeze of fresh lemon or lime gives you flavor, polyphenols, and 0 fermentable sugars. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Number 3. Antibiotics and medications that destroy the gut, including common over-the-counter pain relievers. This one is deeply uncomfortable to talk about, and I understand why most physicians avoid it. But I've seen the damage firsthand, and I can't in good conscience leave it off this list. Let's start with antibiotics. A single standard course of antibiotics has been shown in research published in the journal Science to eliminate approximately 30% of gut bacterial diversity. Some of that diversity never fully returns. A 2023 review in the New England Journal of Medicine found that adults over 60 who had received 3 or more antibiotic courses in the previous decade showed significantly elevated systemic inflammatory markers compared to those who had received 1 or fewer. The gut doesn't recover as quickly or as fully after 60 as it does in younger adults, and each round of antibiotics leaves a deeper scar on the microbiome. But antibiotics are sometimes necessary. The issue is what comes next, and the habit most seniors have that compounds the damage silently every day. Non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, NSAIDs. Ibuprofen, aspirin in high doses, naproxen. These medications are used by an estimated 40% of adults over 65, many of them daily, for joint pain and chronic discomfort. And here's what most of those people don't know. NSAIDs have been shown to directly increase intestinal permeability within just 24 hours of use. A study published in the journal Gut found that even short-term NSAID use in older adults produced measurable increases in gut leakage markers and inflammatory cytokines. Long-term daily use creates a cycle. The pain from inflammation drives NSAID use. The NSAID use worsens gut permeability. The worsened gut permeability increases systemic inflammation. The increased inflammation creates more pain. The cycle destroys the gut, slowly, consistently, and invisibly. I remember James, a 78-year-old retired engineer from Chicago. He'd been taking ibuprofen twice a day for 5 years to manage his hip pain. His gastroenterologist had noted some gut inflammation, but no one had connected it to his daily ibuprofen habit. When he came to see me, he was fatigued, had brain fog he described as a constant mental cloud, and his joint pain was actually worsening despite the medication. I worked with his primary care team to gradually shift him toward gut-supportive anti-inflammatory strategies. We introduced turmeric with black pepper, omega-3 supplementation, and a high-potency probiotic. We reduced his ibuprofen use under careful supervision over 8 weeks. 3 months later, he told me, "Doctor, I feel like someone turned the lights back on in my brain. My hip still has some stiffness, but the deep aching is almost gone. I had no idea what I was doing to myself." That wasn't just pain relief. That was a gut and an entire body beginning to heal. If you believe gut health is connected to everything you've been experiencing, type yes in the comments right now. If you're skeptical, type 0. Your response helps other viewers know they're not alone. Now let's move to the top 2. This is where the information gets most surprising. Number 2. Ultra-processed foods and their hidden ingredient. Seed oils combined with refined carbohydrates, combined with additives. We talked about seed oils individually, and we talked about refined carbohydrates. But there's something that happens when you combine them with artificial additives in a single ultra-processed food product that is worse than the sum of its parts. Ultra-processed foods, which are defined by researchers as products containing ingredients not found in a typical home kitchen, including modified starches, hydrolyzed proteins, artificial colors, and synthetic flavor enhancers, now make up more than 60% of calories in the average American diet. And for seniors who rely on convenience foods, that number is often even higher. Here's the specific gut destruction mechanism. A 2023 study published in the British Medical Journal, following 105,000 adults for an average of 8 years, found that every 10% increase in ultra-processed food consumption was associated with a 10% increase in overall inflammatory disease risk. But more specifically, the combination of emulsifiers, artificial flavors, and refined carbohydrates in these products has been shown to reduce the production of mucin, which is the protective mucus layer that lines your gut wall and serves as the first line of defense against LPS toxin leakage. When mucin production drops, the gut wall is exposed directly to bacterial toxins. When that happens in a person over 60, whose gut already produces 40% less beneficial bacteria, and whose gut repair mechanisms are already slower, the damage compounds rapidly. What are ultra-processed foods specifically? Packaged crackers and snack foods, most breakfast cereals, instant soups, frozen meals, commercial salad dressings, flavored yogurts, cold cuts and processed meats, most fast food, and anything with an ingredient list more than 5 or 6 items long. The replacement strategy isn't about perfection, it's about reduction. Every ultra-processed food you replace with a whole food alternative reduces the inflammatory load on your gut. One swap at a time, that fire begins to cool. And now we arrive at number 1, the most damaging, most widespread, most overlooked gut villain affecting seniors today. Number 1. Chronic stress and the gut-brain axis catastrophe. I know what you're thinking. You came here for a food list, and now I'm talking about stress. But I need you to understand something that will change the way you see every other item on this list. Without addressing this one, none of the dietary changes will work as well as they should. This is the master switch. Your gut and your brain are in constant two-way communication through a pathway called the gut-brain axis, primarily through the vagus nerve and through chemical signaling. Here's the number that should stop you cold. Approximately 90% of your body's serotonin is produced in the gut, not the brain. And your gut produces more than 30 different neurotransmitters. Your gut is not just a digestive organ. It is a second brain. And chronic psychological stress, which is epidemic in adults over 60 dealing with health concerns, financial pressure, loss of loved ones, and fear of dependence, directly destroys the gut microbiome. A 2022 study published in the Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that adults with chronically elevated cortisol levels, the stress hormone, showed a 38% reduction in beneficial gut bacterial diversity compared to low-stress counterparts. Cortisol directly suppresses the growth of beneficial bacteria, while accelerating the growth of harmful, pro-inflammatory strains. It increases gut permeability. It reduces mucin production. It slows digestive transit, allowing harmful bacteria more time to proliferate. And here is the cruel loop that traps so many seniors. Stress destroys the gut. The destroyed gut produces less serotonin. Lower serotonin increases anxiety and low mood. Increased anxiety elevates cortisol. Elevated cortisol destroys more of the gut. The loop tightens with every pass. This is why seniors with chronic pain, chronic fatigue, or chronic digestive issues so often also struggle with anxiety and low mood, and feel like they're fighting on every front simultaneously. They are. But all of those battles trace back to the same battlefield: the gut. I remember Dorothy, a 71-year-old retired nurse from Boston. She came to me after losing her husband of 44 years. She described feeling hollowed out. She had developed irritable bowel symptoms almost immediately after his death. Her joints began aching. She was exhausted by mid-morning. Her doctor had her on 3 medications and had referred her to 3 different specialists. I sat with her, and I explained the gut-brain connection. I explained that her grief was doing something biochemical, not just emotional, to her body. That her gut was under siege. I developed a comprehensive plan. A gut-supportive anti-inflammatory diet, a high-potency multi-strain probiotic, daily gentle walking to activate the vagus nerve, and a structured breathing practice to lower cortisol. 8 weeks later, she told me, "Doctor, I still miss him every day. But I feel like I'm inhabiting my body again. The gut problems are almost gone. The joint pain is down more than half. I have energy to see my grandchildren. I feel like I'm healing, not just surviving." That was a woman whose entire body was inflamed by grief and stress. When we address the root, the branch is healed. Now I want to hear from you. Have you experienced a period of high stress, followed by a worsening of physical symptoms like pain, fatigue, or gut problems? Share your experience in the comments below. I read every single one. Now let me tell you exactly how to implement what you've learned today. This is your practical action plan. Start tomorrow morning. The very first thing you do is drink a full glass of filtered water with a tablespoon of raw apple cider vinegar and a squeeze of fresh lemon. This combination begins alkalizing the gut environment, feeds beneficial bacteria, and supports mucin production before you eat anything. Breakfast. Replace any commercial cereal, white toast, or sweetened yogurt with one of these options. Whole oats cooked with a tablespoon of ground flaxseed and a handful of fresh blueberries. Or 2 eggs scrambled in olive oil with spinach. Or full-fat plain Greek yogurt with a small handful of walnuts and a teaspoon of raw honey. Each of these options directly feeds beneficial gut bacteria rather than harmful ones. Throughout the day, eliminate all artificial sweeteners completely. Eliminate all commercial fruit juices. Replace refined seed oils in your cooking with extra virgin olive oil or avocado oil. Reduce or eliminate ultra-processed snack foods. Replace them with whole food snacks, a small handful of mixed nuts, carrot sticks with hummus, a piece of whole fruit. The gut-brain axis intervention. Once a day, practice 5 minutes of slow diaphragmatic breathing. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4, exhale for 6. Research published in Frontiers in Aging found this specific breathing pattern activates the vagus nerve, directly reducing cortisol levels and beginning to restore the gut-brain communication pathway. 5 minutes. That's all it takes to start. Supplementation. Consider adding a high-potency multi-strain probiotic with at least 10 billion CFU and at least 6 different bacterial strains taken with food in the morning. A prebiotic fiber supplement, such as inulin or partially hydrolyzed guar gum, taken in the evening, feeds the beneficial bacteria you're building. And omega-3 fish oil at 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams daily, which directly counters the omega-6 imbalance from processed foods and reduces gut-derived inflammation. Timeline of results. Within 3 days of implementing these changes, most people report improved digestive regularity and reduced bloating. Within 1 week, energy levels begin to stabilize and afternoon fatigue decreases. Within 2 weeks, joint pain and stiffness measurably improve in most patients. Within 1 month, brain fog clears significantly, mood stabilizes, sleep improves, and your doctor may begin to notice improvements in your inflammatory markers on blood work. Common mistakes to avoid. First, don't make all these changes on the same day and then give up when it feels overwhelming. Choose 2 changes from this list and master those before adding more. Second, don't substitute one ultra-processed food for another, thinking the new one is healthier because of marketing language. Read ingredient lists. If there are more than 6 ingredients, or any ingredient you can't pronounce, put it back. Third, don't skip the gut-brain axis work. Dietary changes alone will produce results, but chronic stress will undermine every improvement you make. The breathing practice is not optional. It is medicine. And here is my challenge to you. Commit to eliminating your single biggest gut villain from this list, whatever resonates most with your own habits, for 30 days. Just 30 days. Track how you feel. Notice your energy. Notice your pain levels. Notice your digestion. Notice your mood. Your gut is more resilient than you've been led to believe. It wants to heal. It simply needs you to stop feeding the fire. You are not broken. Your diet is broken. Your information has been broken. But that ends today. So let's recap what we covered. 7 hidden gut villains destroying seniors from the inside. Number 7. Artificial sweeteners that poison the microbiome. Number 6. Refined vegetable oils that collapse the gut lining. Number 5. Processed gluten and emulsifiers in commercial bread. Number 4. Excess fructose from juices and sweetened drinks. Number 3. Antibiotics and NSAIDs that scar the microbiome with every use. Number 2. Ultra-processed foods that strip the protective mucus layer from your gut wall. And number 1. Chronic stress, the master switch that controls whether all of the above destroys you faster or slower, and whether all of your healing interventions actually work. Each one of these is actionable. Each one of these is changeable, and each one of these is something nobody was supposed to tell you. Because a sick gut keeps filling a lot of waiting rooms. My message today is not fear. My message is power. You now know more about your gut and your inflammation than most people who have been suffering in confusion for years. That knowledge is a gift. Use it. If this video helped you, smash that like button. Subscribe to this channel for more real health solutions designed for adults over 60. And please, share this video with someone you love who has been struggling with pain, fatigue, brain fog, or chronic illness without answers. You might be the person who finally gives them those answers. And now I want to hear from you. Which gut villain from this list do you think has been affecting you the most? Comment below with the number. I genuinely want to know your story. Because your story matters, and because your body, at any age, still has the extraordinary ability to heal when you give it what it needs. Take care of yourself.